Interest rates, credit score, debt to income. There is so much to understand when it comes to affording a home. So in this video, we are gonna shed some light on all of those terms, what do they mean, and help you figure out maybe how much you could afford when trying to purchase a home here in Colorado Springs. So let's bring Omar in. All right, Omar, thanks so much for being with us today. So we're just gonna jump right into it. If somebody is applying for a loan with you, what are the main things you look at when they're trying to qualify for a certain price point?
Typically, there's three things that we look at. First, being the credit score. We want to make sure that the borrower is in a good position to borrow. And typically, a good credit would be anywhere from 700 on up. Second, we look at income. I want to see how much is this borrower going to be able to borrow depending on their income. And then last, which is most important, how much debt does the borrower have? Because sometimes my clients might make a lot of money. However, here in the US, sometimes that means more money, more debt, which is not necessarily the best when looking for a home.
Right, so you could make a ton of money and that really wouldn't matter depending on the debt that you have.
Right, especially those very expensive vehicles.
And aren't there certain ratios? I mean, I've heard debt to income. What does that look like?
Right, so debt to income is exactly that. It's your debt versus your income. And typically standard, you wanna be at about 50% of your income cannot exceed as debt. So if you make $10,000 a month, you cannot have more than $5,000 in debt, which in that $5,000 includes your new mortgage.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just make this really practical for the people here in Colorado Springs. So I'm gonna paint this picture. You have someone who wants to purchase, they want to do a typical conventional loan, 5% down, no debt, great credit score like you were saying, and let's say their household income is about 60,000. What does that look like for them?
Yeah, so let's assume they do make 60,000. They don't have debt, great credit. Income of $60,000 a year could get you a home for about $400,000, in the $400,000 range. And that's not just any home. We're talking about a brand new home that you could start your beautiful family and make memories in that home.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, on a fairly standard American salary, I mean, you can afford a pretty nice home here in Colorado
absolutely.
Springs. Yeah.
But we're not gonna know that if we don't have these conversations and educate each other. I think so many times we do each other a disservice and we allow each other to continue to rent and pay other people's mortgages just because you think, well, I can't afford it because someone told you that.
Right.
I think it's important that you connect with a professional, get a game plan together, and get to and find out what that $60,000 can really do for you.
Yeah.
It will take you a longer way than what you might have assumed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so moving forward, let's jump into what maybe $80,000 will look like. Can you elaborate on that number and what that might be for a buyer?
Sure thing. $80,000 obviously is a very good income, which would be able to get you a house in the 500 area, low 500s. And now, depending in what area you're looking at in Colorado Springs, a $500 plus home will get you a big, beautiful home for all those people that have 4 or 5 beautiful kids. They'll be able to room in a nice, brand new home.
All right, so let's say a potential buyer just got a big old fat raise.
Sure.
And they are right around the 120 mark.
Wow.
What does that look
Well,
like?
I would say first, congratulations. 120,000. You could start off somewhere in about $700,000 range, which we all know here in Colorado Springs, $700,000 could still get you a beautiful home, a beautiful scenery, and guess what? When you have a get-together, make sure you put me on that invite because that home would be beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's even better is View Homes actually builds in this price range. So we know that you can find a big, beautiful home to live in here in Colorado Springs.
They do indeed. I have the opportunity to assist many of the buyers that buy with View Homes, and we go anywhere from the low 400s all the way up to the 900,000s. So it's great to see the range, be able to work with families who are just starting, buying their first home and seeing the kids smile, right? They've been living in an apartment or renting someone else's home, and now they have something to say, hey, this is ours. And then we have those families who are a little bit more, this might be their third, fourth home, buying an $800,000 home in a very, very beautiful area, great sceneries, but still be able to contribute to that satisfaction of saying, hey, we started here, but now we're here.
Yeah.
And man, thank God that we made the decision to start somewhere.
Yeah,
and I think that's key. We need to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And View Home has options for so many different lifestyles.
Absolutely. That's what they call the American dream.
Love it. All right, so I have one more for you.
Oh,
Let's
wow.
go crazy and say someone is making $500,000 a year.
Awesome.
What does that look like?
So first things first, you think, well, they could potentially buy anything, right? And this is where I want to touch is that even though someone might make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, guess what? We still have to take into consideration what debts do they have, okay? However, at $500,000, obviously that is a significant amount of income. I mean, you could potentially buy wherever you want here in Colorado Springs. But believe it or not, we do have homes that would satisfy a buyer who makes $500,000 a year. And these homes, I mean, we call them smart homes, that I know for a fact will be able to satisfy their specific needs.
All right, so in wrapping up our conversation here, and all this information has been so incredibly helpful, thank you for that. What would you say to a potential buyer who is watching at any place? From the 40s, higher, no matter what their income level is, what would you say to them when they talk to maybe you or a potential loan officer?
Well, I would start there is talk to a loan officer, be able to have that conversation and set some sort of game plan. And for those who don't have established credit, open up a credit card, open up a small line of credit, start somewhere. For those who do have established credit, just continue to manage those credit card balances, continue to manage that debt, right? And set yourself up for success. But I think the first step is having that conversation with a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have a phone number that they can call if
Sure.
they want to get a hold of you?
719-277-9249. And again, it's never a no, it's just sometimes not now, but let's put a game plan together on how to get you there.
Love that so much. Thanks again so much, Omar. We love helping people achieve that American dream. We'll see you on the next one.